Home is with you wherever that may be.
Now that we've arrived here, I would not change a thing. Knew that we'd survive here and all the goodness we would bring. Of this I sing. Everybody swimming in sunshine, everybody feeling fine. Everybody join the front line, ain't nobody left behind. Everybody swimming in sunshine, everybody feeling fine. Everybody join the front line, ain't nobody left behind. Everybody swimming.
Taking the good with the ups and downs. I wanna see how the world turns round. Let's go adventure in the deep blue sea. Home is with you wherever that may be. Home is with you wherever that may be.
Now that we've arrived here, I would not change a thing. Knew that we'd survive here and all the goodness we would bring. Of this I sing. Everybody swimming in sunshine, everybody feeling fine. Everybody join the front line, ain't nobody left behind. Everybody swimming in sunshine, everybody feeling fine. Everybody join the front line, ain't nobody left behind. Everybody swimming.
Taking the good with the ups and downs. I wanna see how the world turns round. Let's go adventure in the deep blue sea. Home is with you wherever that may be. Home is with you wherever that may be.
Now that we've arrived here, I would not change a thing. Knew that we'd survive here and all the goodness we would bring. Of this I sing. Everybody swimming in sunshine, everybody feeling fine. Everybody join the front line, ain't nobody left behind. Everybody swimming in sunshine, everybody feeling fine. Everybody join the front line, ain't nobody left behind. Everybody swimming.
Home is with you wherever that may be.
Now that we've arrived here, I would not change a thing. Knew that we'd survive here and all the goodness we would bring. Of this I sing. Everybody swimming in sunshine, everybody feeling fine. Everybody join the front line, ain't nobody left behind. Everybody swimming in sunshine, everybody feeling fine. Everybody join the front line, ain't nobody left behind. Everybody swimming. Now that we've arrived here, I would not change a thing. Knew that we'd survive here and all the goodness we would bring. Of this I sing. Everybody swimming in sunshine, everybody feeling fine. Everybody join the front line, ain't nobody left behind. Everybody swimming in sunshine, everybody feeling fine. Everybody join the front line, ain't nobody left behind. Everybody swimming.
Good. Well, councillors, welcome to our meeting this morning. I am subbing for the Mayor, so I'll start off there with our acknowledgement to country, and I'd like to begin by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land in which we meet today, the Rumble people, and pay my respects to their elders past, present and emerging. I extend that respect to neighbouring Aboriginal peoples within our local government area, the Gangaloo Nation people, the Barada, the Cabal-Barara and Yatamarara people. I also acknowledge the Torres Strait Island people whose land is in the Torres Straits but live and work on Aboriginal land. We have only one apology for today. The Mayor, who is has travelled this morning down to meetings in Brisbane. So that's the only one that we have. Confirmation of the minutes of the previous meeting. Moved Councillor Smith, seconded Councillor Wickerson. All those in favour, and that's carried. Any interest to declare in matters in this agenda? And I look at Councillor Smith. No interest. Okay, we'll move on to there's no business outstanding, no public forums or deputations, no presentations of petitions, no councillor or delegate reports. So it's straight into our officers' reports. Item 10.1, and Aaron, you'd like to present your report?
Yeah, thank you, Mr Deputy Mayor, and good morning, councillors. So hard to believe it's been 2 months since our last bi-monthly update, and there's been a flurry of activity across parks, and here we are with another report for you to receive today. So the update report is quite lengthy and is twofold, and we've got a range of celebrations and recognitions of Q3 achievements across January, February, March 2023. As well as objectives and goals that have recently been set for Q4. So the team continue to work hard towards achieving our common goal of growing great spaces everyone enjoys and we're proud of, and I'd like to take the chance to highlight some recent achievement for you today. So just some of the highlights, not all obviously. Happy to take question and comment after. So a key and major event in Q3 for us was our inaugural Parks Week celebration, which coincided with the Botanic Gardens playground reopening. So some of you were in attendance at our internal celebration, obviously a good opportunity to recognise our team's efforts and hopefully the first of many Park Week celebrations for our team. So, the men and women in parks perform a range of tasks every day that make our parks and spaces great ones, and it's really important to take an opportunity to gather and recognise their efforts and achievements. And we gather together with a nice team celebration and a good barbecue up at the Heritage Village. As I said, we also had the external community event and the playground reopening. Pleasing to see the community come out in force for the reopening. Also off the back of that, we've seen a really good increase of patronage of the playground. Also the activation, the gardens flowing on from that's been really positive to see across the school holiday period as well. Definitely with that new playground, we've got a truly unique play experience now in the gardens, and in the coming months we're looking to see some national and international recognition for the whole playground, but in particular Ernie the Dingo. So just my thanks to Council for their championing of the project. also the allocation of the Works for Queensland funding that made that become a reality. Off the back of this, obviously, council, and it's well known in the community that we've got the traditional peak summer months. So team's primary focus has been delivering quality service to the community across this, and proud to celebrate I guess the conclusion of that period. As a team, we're in the process of reviewing what we've done, what worked, what didn't work, what could we do better. But with a view to continuing our success in the future years. So generally, very positive feeling amongst our team with how well things went. Just to touch on some of the positive measures that we've implemented, definitely having a very clear resource plan that we consulted with our staff. So there's a lot of positive feedback received and incorporated into our final plan. So some good staff ownership over our resourcing plan. Definitely strong collaboration across our teams and also working with other teams across council. Definitely having plans that are adaptive and agile. Obviously the conditions can change and vary across the season, and these plans being developed and adapted and communicated on a weekly basis. And obviously just the hard work and ethic and commitment of the team across the summer months as well. So coming off the back of that, councillors, has also been the citywide presentation for Rocky Nuts. That's also detailed within the report. Particularly, pleasing to see the team balancing the presentation of the event precincts, the overall presentation of our road networks and other key sites, but also continuing to deliver our routine maintenance work. So we haven't stopped maintaining all of our suburban areas and everything to a high standard. And obviously, following this, we now turn our attention towards Anzac Day. As mentioned, Q3 has finished, and as a team, we've recently set our Q4 objectives. This quarter, council, we're looking to focus a lot of effort on consolidating actions, and obviously we're moving out of that growing season. We'd like to share our Q4 actions, some of them with you today. They are all contained within the report, but just a couple to focus on. One for us, and there's a number of actions relating to this, is just looking at our customer experience, so how we interact with our customers currently, and some opportunities in that space as well. Working closely and building and strengthening our relationship with the customer service team, so starting with a lot of positivity there. Obviously leveraging both teams have very unique skills that can result in a better outcome for the customer, so we feel like the two teams can complement each other nicely moving forward. Seasonal maintenance programs, we have come out of our peak, but obviously, as mentioned, a review of these operations and an opportunity to gather our learnings and implement, for future years. And transitioning off that peak season into, off-peak, for want of a better word, but the opportunity to undertake landscaping works, small projects that can improve the maintenance and presentation of our spaces, and we can pivot towards putting back into the spaces and making them better. Of note in that space is, is focusing on tree maintenance and a concerted effort across the whole section to get back on top of that workload. So we've been pointing in one direction, which is our reactive and lawn mowing and general upkeep. Now we've got the opportunity to get back on top of the tree maintenance workload, and with a range of short and long-term steps in place to achieve that. And just to touch base on the parks categorisation, so there's been a lot of focus and attention around the GIS app and the development of that. So all of our teams are now working live in the app, and now the focus is on capturing service data in the app, which can then be used to guide our longer term objectives, and that can look at those maintenance frequencies as we've done through, discussed with a range of meetings with you all. Council, just lastly, not included in the report, but probably my most pleasing story for the last couple of months is a drastic and significant reduction in projectile-related incidents. So 3 years ago, we had 67 related incidents in a calendar year from mowers and whipsnippers and a range of things. We ran a report recently. This is now reduced to 18 incidents in the last year. So, very, very pleasing to share that. Lots of hard work, lots of smart work, lots of good, safe, attention to detail, and a range of safety initiatives that I'm proud of the team for their implementation of. Significant improvement in that space. So, Council, happy to take questions and comments. As I said, that's just some of the highlights and some of the things that we're working towards. So, more than happy to take questions.
I might go to the committee chair, Councillor Rutherford first, and then Councillor Wickerson, Councillor Kirkland.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Just congratulations to the team, you know, the ongoing improvements that, you know, it's been a long, hard road, and, you know, we're starting to see things on the ground now, and I know how much work's gone in to getting to this point, so thank you and congratulations. Special mention to World Park Week. I think it was a fabulous celebration. Lucky that we had the playground opening as well, but even take that aside, you know, the time with the staff to pull them together, and then the display that we had at the Botanic Gardens and everything was very good. So, yeah, really congratulations. Keep up the good work, and please pass on our thanks to the rest of the staff.
Thank you. Councillor Wickerson.
Thanks, Deputy Mayor. Just pointing out we had our last Anzac Day planning meeting late last week, and Stuart from Parks has been attending all of those and liaising to make sure that all of the principal places we think of are up to scratch, like the cenotaph and others. And you did mention Anzac preparations now on your radar for the next. Just making sure that you're picking up all of those outlying areas. It's not all at the cenotaph or for the marsh, some of it's at Marmor. And we looked at Mount Morgan the other day, which looks great at the moment. And, Jeffreys Park for Ratchet Brook. So you're across all of those and things are all on track.
And with all the many and varied locations, it isn't just the cenotaph. So yeah.
Okay, no, that's excellent. Yeah, thanks for all your help with that.
Councillor Kirkland.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. Aaron, to you and your team, there's been a lot of challenges that were needing to be addressed and overcome, and you've taken the bull by the horns. All credit to the entire team, Alicia, and everyone else that has been involved, approaching everything from divisions right through. I'm so excited about the GIS app, and I think that has the capacity to find those things that are still not necessarily working to the expectation of the community and to address those. So I'm looking down the path, and I think that there's going to be some really great reports that you'll be presenting to the table, celebrating overcoming those emerging challenges, ones that might not have even been identified yet. So, and it's because of that program, it's because of your diligence and the team's application to your new process of doing things. So very happy to see this and excited to receive this report today. So well done to everybody. Looking forward to, like I said, seeing that continued improvement right across the region in the parks space. It is, after all, first impressions. So many people drive through, and that's how they gauge our respect and our love for the region is through our parks areas and our, you know, streetscapes and all that sort of thing. So thank you very much for taking up that challenge. Yeah, well done.
Councillor Smith.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Chair. Yeah, thanks, Aaron, for a really good report, and yeah, thanks for the one-on-one meetings as well. I know, you know, I do get complaints, probably via Facebook, that Gracemere doesn't get mowed when people think it should. Like we look at the untidiness of the main road that the TMR are responsible for, from the new road from Yeppen to Gracemere. It's always overgrown. Then they come through Gracemere, and sometimes it is overgrown, but I know you're working to get on top of that, so thanks very much. But also, I really enjoyed the opening of the new playground, but the only thing that disappointed me, I didn't know that our staff were outside there with their mowers or tractors or whatever they were, so when we went outside, we actually got some photos taken with them. Yep. And also, the thing that really impressed me that day was the Friends of the Park in their pink shirts and that, and we sort of got our photos taken with them as well. And just a band of such passionate people, and they're proud to wear that uniform, and they really stood out in their pink shirts. So, yeah, congratulations on having such a dedicated team of friends. I think that's fantastic. I wish we could get a Friends of Cedric Archer Park or something going, but yeah, I'm not volunteering. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Rutherford.
Yeah, I do have a query, Aaron, and I was going to take it offline, but then I thought, well, maybe if there is anyone watching, they might be curious in the answer. Just this morning I noticed Church Park, obviously the slush had been there and mowed. The outer area is still obviously a little overgrown, but I also noticed that there were teams coming through. So is it just a day apart, or is it an anomaly? What's going to happen there? Because I do notice going back a few years, we had a real disjoint of the slashes would go, and then it would be 2 weeks or so before the gangs would come through.
Yeah.
So what's happening just at the moment?
Yeah, generally through the chair, the target is to be right behind within the next business day. I guess the beauty of the app is actually formally measuring that now, and we can look at whether there are anomalies or anything like that exists. So acknowledging that the field mower moves way quicker and does a far wider swath as well. So not sure exactly on that one. I don't know if anyone is watching, but we can find that out. And I guess over time, that's something we want to be able to report back on, is that alignment of service and making sure we're working more systematically through an area.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry, it was a curly one to throw just at you, but just, I suppose if anyone is out there looking and going, well, the fields are mowed, but the outers aren't, it's generally that the teams are coming through fairly close behind.
Generally, the field mower will work first and the hand crew will work after. So,
All right, thank you.
Thanks for that. I have one question, Aaron, with Jeffreys Park. The Ratzinger Brook had those roses that they were hoping to have planted. I noticed that they haven't gone in yet. Do you have an update of when they will be going in? Will they be before Anzac Day?
Councillor Fisher, not before Anzac Day. There's an upgrade of the park that's going to be happening almost directly after Anzac Day that'll include new footpaths, all abilities, pedestrian access and a few things like that. So the agreement, or in discussion with the group, Cassie and her team have agreed just to do a light touch before Anzac Day, and then afterwards just acknowledging that there is that project. So collaborating with that group over the design of the upgrade and the works that we're going to do there. So there's been some verbal agreement over what we're going to do there for Anzac Day.
Thanks for that. Just that we're liable to get asked
Yeah.
when we attend that service next week. Is there any other questions to that report? Alicia?
Probably just to interject, because I always have to thank Council for their comments, but also to congratulate Aaron and the team. Now that we have got to Q3, we've proven the focus methodology that we're using, so we're able to hone in, and by us, getting together each quarter, looking at the achievements we've made, but also deciding where we're going to focus our efforts for the next 3 months. It's really enabled us to get those runs on the board. So it's a great way to approach our work for something that is, somewhat the same thing all year round, we're focusing in and making improvements. So hopefully, in 12 months' time, there will be so many more to report to you. But we will continue to do our bi-monthly report and keep you updated. Thanks, Aaron.
Thanks, Alicia. Look, there's no other comments. Councillor Rutherford, would you like to move the report?
Thank you.
Seek a seconder. Councillor Smith. All those in favour? And that's unanimous. Thank you. Okay. Aaron.
Round two.
Next report. Over to you.
Thanks, Councillor Fisher. It's with great pleasure to present this policy, the urban greening policy, for adoption to Council today. So to recap or to summarise, our urban greening policy aims to solidify our organisation's position as one that places great pride in our urban forest, and as an organisation that continues to work towards creating a cooler, greener and more prosperous region. Through the policy, we affirm our commitment to Rockhampton's urban forest, and we will be guided by some key principles contained within the policy that are recognise, manage, protect, enhance and monitor. Significant impacts to greening our urban environment will be made by improving our existing business processes, planning collaboratively, fostering relationships and strengthening corporate documentation, with minimal immediate impact on operation and capital budgets. Additionally, we also remain committed to greater ambition and higher and longer term targets. The urban greening policy recognises that we have experienced a cultural shift organisationally towards a council where all sections and departments play roles in urban greening. There are many ways in which our organisation influences positive outcomes beyond just the planting of trees, all of which are reflected within the policy itself. Just personally, over the last few years, I've seen as an organisation, we've significantly increased focus in this space, and I'd like to thank all stakeholders for their input into the policy and their commitment going forward. Council, a comprehensive action plan has also been prepared and contains a range of actions towards the policy objectives that officers will be working towards, and to ensure we deliver on these actions, an annual report will be brought back to Council to share that progress and continue to monitor our effectiveness against that. I'd like to thank all involved with the development of the policy, in particular Steve Ellis and Jacinta. Also Cassie Sloss from Parks for her major role in contributing towards this as well. None of this would be possible also without our internal departments and sections, and there's been widespread internal consultation that reflects the nature of this being whole of council and everyone that can play a role towards it. With a recommendation that council adopt the policy, I'm happy to put that forward, but also happy to take questions and comments.
Questions, Councillor Kirkland?
Buying lunch for us. Oh, thank you, Mr. Chair. Again, great work from your team there. Aaron, I do have a question just within the body of the policy, and I know that we've already had this presented to us, I'm cognisant of that, but I did neglect to ask if you could just explain underneath the chart there, there's a little comment that says, Council also acknowledge the role external industries and government play in delivering urban greening outcomes. What exactly does that mean, and what's the purpose of having that in there? Is it a directive, or is it something that we follow? What exactly is that in there for?
Through the Chair, serves a few purposes. We don't have actions for those departments within our policy. We don't wield any authority over those other agencies, but it also does reflect that they are major landholders and stakeholders. So particularly Department of Transport and Main Roads, and it's been a long discussed matter where they control a lot of the city entrances and how those landscaping projects take place. However, there's no policy position that we can have to govern them. However, in our discussions with them, there has been there would be benefit in them understanding what council stands for in the land that we control. So that's why they appear there. Department of Resources obviously own a lot of parcels of land. Ergon Energy with their as of right maintenance of vegetation around electrical assets as well. So just trying to highlight that there probably are some beyond just those as well. So this is our policy and our position. We're just acknowledging that we do need to work collaboratively or have an influence or a role to play with no direct authority, for want of a better word.
Yeah, I think, thank you, Aaron, but I think what you just said then, that last sentence of what you said, is more reflective of what the purpose of having that sentence there is. Like literally what you just said, I thought would have looked good in the actual policy, to say that we acknowledge we need to work collaboratively and, understanding that their governance over these additional areas in our footprint. It's probably too late to add it in now, but maybe to make a note future when you come back to review this policy, to potentially define that a little bit better, because it's one thing just saying we acknowledge it, but why are we acknowledging it? We're acknowledging it because we want to collaborate with, we need to collaborate with them, and we know that their governance is outside of our policy remit. I don't know. I'm happy for everybody else's thoughts on that, but that's how I would have read it. Thanks, Mr Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Rutherford.
Yes, thank you, Mr Chair, and my comments were along the same line. Great policy's great, a great start, but I think it would be, one of the things that drove this policy was to let other agencies know the importance that council placed on our vegetation. So I think that probably needed to be elaborated on a little bit more in this policy, that no, of course we can't control what you do. However, we would like to have discussions with you about, you know, what trees do and don't go, if some can be saved, you know, how do we replace things that have been taken. So I would like to see that expanded out just a little bit more, just to let people know that, you know, we do place a really high value on particularly our shade canopy and the like. So that's probably my main comment. And then maybe, not so much for this policy, but having an opportunity to drill down into some of the documents that sit under this policy. I note in some of our planning guidelines, when it talks about developments putting trees on footpaths, they're not necessarily, the options don't give a lot of shade trees. They give a lot of vegetation type trees, which is lovely, but you know, there is opportunity to get some shade trees in as well, and I don't think we've got that mix quite right. And I did notice the other day in a planning document that we were looking at for parking areas. They talked about having 50% local native species for shade in parking areas, and I just wondered, and I don't know the answer to this, I just wondered whether 50% was too high because of the native species. Councillor Fisher, you probably could.
I actually oppose that very thing.
Because a lot of our native species drop limbs and are planted, are best for cluster groups. So I look at that and go, oh, I don't know whether we've got that correct. So there's documents that sit underneath this, I think, that we need to have a little bit of a look at as well.
Very true, Councillor Rutherford. I grew up, our family was the pioneers in introducing Australian plants to Central Queensland public. So very passionate about Australian native plants, but you've got to be realistic and look at, there's horses for courses. And we want canopy, and a lot of our native species there, they've developed in an arid environment, and they do shed a lot of leaves too. They don't have the canopy cover that we need, so I think some of those there we definitely need to sort of look at. And you know, we've got so much budget. Let's get the biggest bang for our buck, and as sort of a wise person plants a tree that they never know that they'll get to sit in the shade of. We've got to be that wise person and start planting those trees that we can, our next generation or the generation after will sort of thank us for planting those shade trees. So there is a few, as we go, if we can evolve our various urban green policy to actually filter down to what's planted, and also passing on to the developers. Many of our housing estates and that, they'll go for what fits the generic trees that they use in Brisbane and Gold Coast and Townsville, but actually having a list that they can utilise for Rockhampton that grows best. So I think this is a great start, Aaron and the team. I was going to almost make a similar comment as Councillor Rutherford about that definitely we need more canopy. We are still struggling from what we lost from Cyclone Marcia, and where we could sort of see in those parks and what we've been doing in the tours, what canopy trees that can provide that shade that we can use would be great.
Yeah, thanks, Councillor Fisher. And probably just, specifically around some of that commentary is, we've got actions to measure the canopy and continue to measure that, or our, urban canopy cover percentages. So over time, we would seek to see that, improve. So that's definitely within our action plan. And also we see that influencing our development is a really large part of what we can do to increase that as well. So looking at our landscape design guidelines and different things like that to try to steer development through the right process. So via the planning scheme, how things are planted, what guidelines do we have for developers. So yeah, we've certainly got some actions around that will keep you informed through that annual report.
Thanks, Aaron. Councillor Smith?
Thanks, Mr Chair. When I read it, and something Councillor Rutherford said about putting shade trees on the footpath, but we don't sit under them on the footpath unless you're watching Rocky Nats or some parade. But to me, urban greening is what we'd put on footpaths. And in the old days, people were passionate about their trees on the footpath and looked after them, but now, with so many rentals, people just won't look after footpath trees, so it's very difficult to, if council actually do plant, if we went around and planted trees on the footpath, it'd be very hard to maintain them. But when I can understand urban forest, to me, is what we plant in parks to promote shade. But yeah, I had a problem with the canopies as well. And I mean, I'm the worst gardener in the world, believe me. And I'm flat out identifying any trees, so I don't criticise too much. But I'm just taking Cedric Archer Park, for instance. We tend to plant paperbarks that don't have a canopy. And we've only got, to my memory of the park, we've only got one big canopy tree there, which is way down near the rotunda, where nobody ever sits, because they're all up around the water play. There's a couple of shade covers there with seats, but no canopy trees. And I remember Councillor Rutherford talking about canopy trees for that park 4 or 5 years ago. And that goes for all our number 1 parks. I think that's where we should start. I'm not sure what's been planted at Kershaw or the other, our top grade parks, if we have got enough there, but I think that's where we should start to make sure you've got enough canopy trees in those, because that's where the families go. And that's where they go to sit under the tree and have a picnic and do whatever.
Thank you, Councillor Smith.
And sorry, I'm not sure where it fits into this policy. I sort of looked and looked, but I know it's broad, it's a policy and it's broad, but I just don't see where all that fits in.
Aaron?
All I can say through the chair, we'll take that on board. Every project we do is right tree, right place, right location. So there are actions around reviewing what we plant and where. So we can only take that on board, Councillor Smith.
Thanks, Aaron. Councillor Rutherford.
Probably just to ease Councillor Smith's mind a little bit, a lot of the tree planting that we have been doing, the Parks team have been doing, has been around putting in shade trees in parks. When, as Councillor Fisher said, we're probably not going to see the benefit of them for quite some time, but it is one of the things that's been identified and we have been doing. I can't speak. I know that Cedric Archer Park, there was paperbarks there, I think, because they grow so well, and shade can also throw long ways, not just necessarily as an umbrella. So it may have been trying to get some shade there quickly as well. There are people that do that job that I don't. But one of the things that did come out very, very strongly, and you would have noticed in that Wandle walking trail workshop that we had, the people said, wherever the walking trails go, they need to be covered, basically. They want to see tree cover, canopy covers over those walking paths. So they said that is the most beneficial thing we could provide. There are footpath areas everywhere, but they're too hot to use. So it really is about planting trees over the top of our main thoroughfares, our main walking thoroughfares, and getting some shade over the top of them.
Thank you, Councillor Rutherford. Councillor Mathers.
Thanks very much, Mr Chair. Just through you to Aaron. Morning, Aaron. This is, from what I've read, really good policy. It's great to see. I think, the more trees we can have, the more shade. But I just noticed through, I think, on page 17 of this document, is one of the things is pruning of amenity trees to Australian standard. Obviously, everyone's on board, wants to see more trees get planted, and I think that's really important for the shade and the canopy around the area. But are we looking at what we're doing? Obviously, if there's more trees being planted, are we looking into the future as to what we're doing in regards to our teams and their ability to be able to maintain those extra trees? I understand we're struggling at the moment, but obviously moving forward, more trees will mean more pruning.
Yeah, certainly through the Chair, a lot of focus on adopting best practice and continuing to evolve that as well. So the team looking at what equipment they use, how they undertake, how we measure, very similar to the GIS app, looking at technology, how do we map our urban forest, how do we monitor the effectiveness of different trees or the ineffectiveness of different trees and their failure rates and things like that as well. So yeah, certainly a continual focus on that.
Yeah, and thanks very much for that, because it's like everything, like you say, right tree, right place, but I suppose there's some trees that definitely require less trimming than others, and that's something that we should be looking at as well as all those qualities of what trees we're planting for that upkeep. Thanks, Aaron.
Any other questions? Councillor Rutherford as Chair, would you like to move that report?
Happy to move, Councillor
And
Fisher.
seeking a second, Councillor Mathers. All those in favour? And that's carried. Okay. We are actually cruising really well today. So, no notices of motion. Questions on notice? None? Urgent business. Now, did have one, Alicia, you able to give us an update on the weeds and the in our waterways? Was that Evan was?
In what respect, Mr Chair? Short answer, probably not. I guess just on the back of, the radio advice, is that what you meant?
Probably just to give councillors, yesterday on 4RO, there were a number of callers there sort of complaining in the morning about the maintenance of our waterways and that the weeds are getting worse. And Barry O'Rourke came on and said, well, no, it's not state responsibility, and that where creeks border council land, it's actually the council's responsibility. And this has sort of been going on for so long. We do need to have very clear guidelines, because the public are, we're the first line of communication with the public. And I think there is a frustration out there, and we need to sort of have that correct information, because what Barry said goes against what information we've had. There's also been, departmental people have sort of made comments as well. None of them align. And I thought, as soon as this goes, we'll all be sort of hammered with the public sort of saying, hey, you told me that that's a state responsibility, it's a council responsibility. When are you going to clean up the Lakina in my waterway or the weeds in my waterway? So it is something that we really need some clarification, and even actually having an information sheet that the councillors have, that when we do get sort of a member of the public sort of chewing our ear, we can say, well, look, this is the actual proper protocol and how we go about it. And I know that, we've got more weed problems than we've got weed budget, but we probably need a clear direction.
Okay, Mr Chair, I'll take that one on notice. So just recapping, we've had a number of reports, a couple of briefing sessions, we've had our biosecurity plan, but what I'll work on is that, and it will be difficult remembering and drawing back in terms of whose land does adjoin those creeks and different pieces and different approaches, as well as resourcing. But I'll work to get a simplified one-pager so that you can respond around whose responsibility it is.
That'd be good. Questions, Councillor Maitland?
Thanks very much, Mr. Chair. Thanks very much for bringing this up, because it is interesting. It's hard within this our position around the table when the information we're giving is different to what other what other government agencies are saying, because the information that we've been given here is very much about. It wasn't that it's council land adjoining the creeks. It was if it was parks that are adjoining the creeks at that point, and I think a certain distance off. Some of our road infrastructure as well. And I was very happy and very proud to see the way that this council worked together to put a resolution to LGAQ in regards to putting pressure on the state government to put in some sort of policy, some sort of procedure for a regular waterway creek clearing maintenance. And that was something that we heard from all other local government areas, north and south of us, that they were all concerned about the same thing, and the lack of response we're getting from state levels of government in regards to the work that needed to be done within those creeks. Now, I totally agree that we're probably not doing enough in the areas that we need to, but Alicia, I'm also very mindful of the staff and the budget and everything we have to work on that, and I understand that's a juggling act. But, even if we were just maintaining those areas that we were responsible for, if it's not being done further upstream by the other levels of government, we're flogging a dead horse. So I think I would like some clarity on that, if that's okay.
So a little bit of clarity. So Alicia's right. So where the land adjoins those creeks, we may enter those creeks to clean the weeds out. Doesn't mean that's our responsibility. Yep. So that's that first part of the whole lot of it. So we don't own from inside that bank and that creek. Okay, so that's that part of the whole lot. And then you've got those areas along some of the creeks, defined creeks, that have got private property on one side and private property on the other. Doesn't mean we can have access to that part of the creek to clean it out. And again, it comes back who is actually responsible for the creek. Not who's responsible for the weeds, who's responsible for the creek. And then that would then lead who's responsible for the maintenance of it.
And I think that is the really important one, because we can't take on any more of the state's roles. We just cannot financially do that. And I think that's the big question, is that, okay, we could go in and clear our creeks at our cost, but it's that responsibility, and I think that's the thing that we need to get to the public.
Yeah.
Further question, Councillor?
Yes, thanks very much, Mr. Chair. And also, I'm just wondering, with something that Alicia was putting together, maybe that's something we could do some media on, Mr. Chair, in regards to putting it out there so people understand what's council responsibility and what's state's responsibility. Because I know I get these telephone calls and I tell them the information, look, it's not, and then if they go and chase up another level of government and they're told the opposite, it doesn't look good.
Yeah. And I think that would be great to have that media and information as well. Councillor Wickerson.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. No, I agree. And we soon find out who's responsible for it when we want to do work in it, like Murray Lagoon, and we get hammered with a year's worth of legislation while we can't, so it's fairly clear cut, isn't it? But just on weeds too, and I had a call a couple of days ago now from a man, some councillors might remember, Bill Dodson. I think he was working with Scott Stevens, involved with SMW. And a number of years ago, they had a proposal to council, I think, for hyacinth harvesting. For whatever reason, even Bill himself couldn't quite put his finger on why that failed, but there was a range of reasons why it never progressed. I think they were going to bring up a harvesting machine from somewhere for so much money or whatever. But anyway, it didn't happen. But he was raising the same things about waterways, the river, and also Deep Creek and other places. And I said, well, we are looking at a proposal at the moment for harvesting. I think that's in conjunction with UCQ, I think. But the question is, can we have an update on that, how that project is? FBA, beg your pardon, sorry. But I said to Bill, look, even if that were to become a viable proposition, it won't attend to these small waterways and isolated ponds because it's just not viable to take that whole thing and put it into a little waterway or catchment somewhere. So that's not going to solve that problem. He was also very much against any sort of spraying, so it doesn't leave too many options other than wading in and pulling it out, which isn't practical, of course. So he didn't have any solutions, but he was restating what the problem was. But yes, I guess if we can get an update at some stage about how that harvesting project, because it's very exciting to be able to do. And he wasn't wrong that, you know, the nutrients that cause all this weed to grow is captured in the weed. So if you can get that out and then compost it and put it on, it probably is a very viable nutrient source for farms or whatever. So it's worth pursuing.
That's right. Thank you, Councillor Wickerson. Councillor Rutherford.
Yes, Councillor Fisher, just touching on the same thing Councillor Wickerson did, is that, you know, it's even if when we've gone in to try and tidy some of these places up, the approval process we have to go through is quite incredible. So if they're our responsibility, then why is that approval process so difficult to get through?
True. So thank you, Alicia.
Mr Chair, yeah, I'll take that on notice and work with Doug to get that one page easy to understand, fingers crossed, for us, and then I'll be in contact over email/information board or something like that, so I'll follow that one up, and I'll follow Advanced Rocky up for the update of the Hyacinth project to come back to you guys. Thank you.
That would be great. Is there any other urgent business? Councillor Smith.
Yes, sorry, Mr Chair. Just talking about, Councillor Wickerson mentioned the lagoon, Murray Lagoon. People are always commenting on O'Shanassy Park. It's full of paragraphs. Can't see the water at all, and I think that's one park that we tried to clean out when it was dry. A few years ago now, probably before even you came on, Alicia. In the middle of the drought, we were going to clean it out and couldn't get the right, the paperwork, couldn't get the approval. So it filled up again, but now you can't even see the water and it's just full of grass. It doesn't look real good because all the ducks used to be there and people used to go and feed the ducks.
It actually might be a really good motion to go to the LGAQ conference. I know it's still a while away, but I would believe that most local governments would have similar sort of problems that it's really difficult to do because of the green and red tapes to actually do it. So that might be one to put on our radar, Mr CEO, as a potential resolution to go to the LGAQ conference while they're here in central Queensland. Okay, if there's no further business, declare the meeting closed at 9:47. Thank you very much, and that would have to be a wrap.
Let's go with the blue sea. Home is with you wherever that may be. Home is with you wherever that may be.
Now that we've arrived here, I would not change a thing. Knew that we'd survive here and all the goodness we would bring.